What's that? Hello everyone and welcome to What's That? I'm your host, Seth Benoit. In this program, you're going to follow me on a journey as I learn about all sorts of things in Weymouth, and you'll follow me as I put the show together. So without further ado, let's get right into it. It is a historic movie theater located in Columbian Square. So the first step when trying to learn about anything is look for it on the internet. So let's see what we can learn from man's best friend, Google. And with a quick Google search, I can pull up the Cameo's main webpage, while at the same time, I sent Debbie Sullivan of the Weymouth Historical Society an email seeing if she had any information, any old newspaper clippings, or pictures of the Cameo to provide us with some other information. The Cameo Theater was designed by architects William Luther Moll and Roger Glade Rand, where it opened its doors Christmas Day, 1938. The lobby area is more of a New England parlor than a modern movie theater. It has a fireplace and paneled walls. The Cameo was originally a single theater with 672 seats. It was able to accommodate live performances and cinematic events. In the 1980s, a wall was constructed down the middle, dividing the one large theater into two smaller ones, creating more theaters for more screenings. All right, so I picked up some information about the Cameo. Next thing to do, let's call over and see if we can get a hold of anyone. I called over to the Cameo, and unfortunately it looks like no one's there at the moment, so we're gonna go ahead and do the next best thing, send them an email. While we wait for a response from the Cameo, let's take a little detour and see if we can look into the lives of Luther Moll and Roger Rand, the architects who designed the Cameo. After hours of scouring the internet, Google searches, Digital Commonwealth, I wasn't able to find a whole lot of information on either of the architects, but I did find a historical commission memo from Cambridge, which did list out some of William Moll's life. The most I could find about Roger Rand was simply his obituary. So I also wasn't able to find any pictures of either of the architects, so I guess we're going to have to just use our imagination as to what they look like. William Luther Moll was born in 1874 and died in 1947. He graduated from Cambridge English School in 1892, and then Harvard's Lawrence Scientific School in 1899. After receiving a fellowship and studying abroad for 2 years, he returned to Harvard as an assistant professor of architecture from 1903 to 1910. He ran his own practice in Harvard Square for 2 years before moving to Boston, where he then met and partnered with Roger Rand in 1919. They're responsible for designing many different apartments and residences in Boston, but they seem to be best remembered for the theaters they designed. Roger Rand was born in 1887 in Ohio. He had 3 children. He moved to Boston in the 1900s, where he partnered with William Moll in 1919, and he died in 1947. That's about all the information I have on him. They were responsible for designing the Rex Theatre in Cambridge, the Princess Theater in Wakefield, the Mohawk in North Adams, the Central Square Theater in Cambridge, the Capitol Theater in Boston, and the Victory Theater in Holyoke. And that's just to name a few, and that's just in Massachusetts. It's sad to see these once great theaters in such a state of disrepair or being destroyed. They used to be able to house hundreds, thousands in some cases, of people who wanted to see a live show or film. It's really fortunate that the Cameo is still not only standing, but providing their service to the town. So that's what I was able to dig up on the architects. They designed a whole lot of stuff in the Boston area. They branched out into some neighboring states a little bit as well. And yeah,
You've got mail.
Oh, great, look at that. So I just got a response from the owner of the Cameo, and we're gonna set up a time to head over there and have a little interview. And here we are at Weymouth's historic Cameo Theater with one of its owners, Michelle. So nice of you. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. It's really thrilling to be here. I just said I didn't know if you would even respond to my email, because I'm starting a brand new show for WETC. And thank you so much for meeting with me here today.
You're welcome. Happy to do it.
Yeah, so I just had a few questions for you,
sure.
if you wouldn't mind. So would you mind sharing some history about the theater here?
Sure. So it's 85 years old, and it's been in continuous operation. It's one of the few twin theaters left, meaning there's 2 screens. So nowadays it's mostly multiplexes. So it's one of the rare, little gems left operating in America. And we still show first run, and we're just happy to still be part of the neighborhood.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, especially in the current time we're in, where you read a lot of stuff about movie theaters struggling. AMC is slowly kind of losing steam, and
I mean, it's definitely, we can't compete, so we're just really doing it as, out of love for cinema. And my husband worked here as a 16-year-old. He worked for Patriot Cinemas, and he managed here through college. And when the whole cinema industry was changing to digital, it was a very expensive thing to do, to get rid of your 35mm projectors and go digital. So the previous owner didn't want to do that because it didn't really make financial sense. But my husband and I have full-time jobs, and we're just like, oh, we're going to save the Cameo. We want to keep it going. So that's why we did it, just to keep it around and as an option for people not to go to the megaplexes and to come to the little neighborhood theater.
Yeah,
So,
I love that. And that's coming from me, who, when I was an 18-year-old man, I worked at one of the megaplexes, and it has a lot of showings and everything, but like the atmosphere of something like this, where you can really feel the history, and there's the warmth, and
yes, that's what I always think. I think it's very warm and inviting.
Yeah.
And the architecture is all original. The architects designed it to look like a New England parlor. So there's like a fake fireplace over there, and it was just meant to be like a living room, and very cozy and warm and inviting.
Yeah.
And so we kept all of it. It's all the original doors, like the woodwork in the theater. So all of that's original. So we kept all of that, all the good stuff.
That's so cool. When I was reading some of the information online, I saw that it was originally one large theater.
It was, yes. So originally, I think it had like 650 seats, and in the 1980s, Patriot Cinemas divided it in half. So again, to be able to even make it, you have to have more than one movie, pretty much, because you're obligated to keep a movie running for a certain amount of weeks. And so if you have one movie and you pick the wrong movie, you're kind of stuck with it for 4 weeks, and it's a problem.
Yeah.
So having at least 2 makes it, more doable, but it's still difficult. But anyway, that's why they split it into the 2. So at least there'd be like, you could have a kids movie and an adult movie, just to have more variety.
Do you take any consideration into runtime? Because I know there's certain movies, especially nowadays, they're getting up to like 3 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
Like the newest Dune movie, I think, is about 3 hours.
So the Taylor Swift was over 3 hours.
Wow.
It was really long. But
would you try
Killers
to,
of the Flower Moon, that was
Oh
long.
yeah. Would you pair that with a shorter movie, or would you just kind of
you-
go for 2 average length movies?
I don't think of runtime. I just try and do what I think will people will come to see. So I prefer to have a shorter movie, just because then I could get in 4 shows on a Saturday, and if it's 2 or 3 hours, I can only do 3 shows.
Right.
But I don't think of that. That's definitely not something I consider.
Okay. I always wondered how that works.
Yeah.
So you mentioned there's all the original parts still, but I would assume there would have to be some sort of renovations at some point, because the building was built in the 1930s.
Yeah. I think maybe 7 years ago, we renovated and put new flooring in and new seats in, new rug. We painted everything. So that was, we can peek in later, but so the seats are new. They're like leather rockers, so they rock a little bit. And we lost a lot of seats. So it used to hold like maybe 270, and now we hold 130.
They're not the fancy recliner
So
ones.
in the front row is a recliner option, just the front row, but the others, they're just, they go back and they rock, but not full recliners.
Either way, still much nicer than the
original, definitely. Yeah.
Old-timey theater seats. So you mentioned you'd switch from film to digital projectors.
Yeah.
You said it was much more expensive. Did you work with film before, or did you kind of come into digital?
So my husband, he was a licensed projectionist when he worked for Patriot Cinemas. So he's, he can run the 35 millimeter. So when we started, it was still 35 millimeter. So we had to run it that way probably for maybe a year before we switched to the digital. And it's really, you'd have like 4 big cases of film. You'd have to splice them together, carry them upstairs. Like, it was very cumbersome. And I don't know if you remember, like, you could actually see the marks where they would splice. Yeah. So I kind of missed that. I was very like, I don't like this. There's not going to be any like little squiggles to see. But just the ease of digital, I'm a convert. I'm like, it is way
easier to work
with. It won't break like ours. It would break. It would burn out, and then we'd have to like try and fix it in the middle of a movie, and it would fall off the platter, and there'd be film everywhere. So it's definitely way easier with digital.
Yeah, but I'm sure there was something romantic about old-timey film. My grandfather was a projectionist, and he cut together all the film in that too. So. It's fun. It's like, old cinema.
Yeah, no, I love it still. We have some reels, like in our house, we have reels, and we have some old film trailers. Just to work with it is, it's easier with digital. But I love the nostalgia of the 35 millimeter. And they're still showing some movies. They'll show it in 35 millimeter, like in New York and LA. Or 70 millimeter. Is that I don't know if it's,
Yeah, I know some of the
big directors.
Yeah, like I was going to say Quentin
Christopher
Tarantino,
Nolan, maybe.
Christopher Nolan. I think Oppenheimer was the 70 millimeter IMAX biggest thing you can get. Which is a great movie, but it's a lot of talking and stuff. So, if you like watching a giant, loud movie, but it's just people talking most of the time, it's great. It was a really good movie. Do you and your husband do all the work here yourself, or do you have other staff?
We have other staff. So we do all the behind the scenes. So it's reaching out to the film studios to get movies. It is hard to get movies here a lot of times, because our grosses aren't high enough, and they're not going to give us a movie right on the brake if they don't think it's going to perform. So that's a challenge. And then, you know, it's a lot of building maintenance, to be honest, to just keep everything running smoothly. We do have staff, so we have managers, you know, that stay the whole shift. And we're here like on extra busy days as extra set of hands, or I do birthday parties sometimes, and I'll be here. We love school field trips, so.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
How many birthday parties would you say you? I would love to have my birthday party.
Yeah, I mean, not that many, because we, you know, it's just like a, you know, off like at 10 a.m. You know, if there's a kids movie like Kung Fu Panda, we might have had like 2 birthday parties, like, you know, at 10 a.m. on a Saturday before we open to the public. They just come in and see their own show.
That's a really fun idea. I'd love to take my son to do that.
The kids like it because they can like run around.
Yeah, that's what he would do.
Yeah.
Do you find any difficulty with the location? I know you're right next to Columbian Square here, and it is very busy.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this
parking here
construction
seems.
Yeah, it's. I don't know if this construction has been going on for like a year and a half, and it has really hurt our business because everyone wants to avoid this area. So I'm hoping it's almost done. The lights will be in so that it will be easier to get through. But the parking is behind Olden's, so there's a municipal
across
lot.
the street over there. Yeah.
And then with the new traffic lights, it won't be so scary to cross. Because,
that'll be good.
Yeah, you know, they made the span shorter so that when you're crossing, it's safer. But yeah, so it's definitely, that's an issue, parking. But people make it work. They can park in the square, so.
So what's been your favorite moment throughout owning the Cameo?
So I love when we show a movie and the audience claps at the end. So when we renovated, Beauty and the Beast was showing, and we had it in both screens, and it was like a packed house because everyone wanted to come see the new seats, and everyone's clapping at the end. And I just really think an audience seeing a movie together and enjoying it, you know, I kind of think that's the magic of it. So.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like when you just see like a really good movie, you know, there's that feeling you get where it's like you witness something great, you know.
Yes, like the King's Speech, everyone, you know, was clapping at the end of that. Those are the moments that make me happy that we have it here to enjoy, and people are clapping and happy.
I love that. That's so great. And I want to say thank you for having us here and answering my questions. Now I want to end with probably the hardest question. What's your favorite movie?
Yes, this is a very hard question that I get asked a lot. I grew up in the 80s, so the John Hughes movies really swayed me. You know, I love 16 Candles. I'm a film major in college, so I would do filmmaking. And I actually met my husband at a movie theater, so nice. He was working. So we just have this love of, you know, movies in general, but the 80s, you know, all of the John Hughes movies. And then I loved, you know, more recent movies. I love Forrest Gump, loved King's Speech. I love all movies, really.
I do
for
too.
Different reasons. So.
Yeah.
And then I love when we're really busy, like Barbie was really great. So that's, you know, a great success financially in the movie industry. That makes us happy too. So.
That's great. And once again, I'm so thrilled to be here. I'm a huge movie fan, and to, you know, have this conversation with you has been really great. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The Cameo is more than just a movie theater. It was designed by 2 prolific and brilliant architects whose work has stood the test of time. Their intention was to give the theater an at-home atmosphere, and I will say it absolutely delivered. It's warm, inviting, beautiful. Most of that was provided by the current owners, who are so friendly and gracious. They put their hearts into preserving the history and beauty and charm of that little cinema. I wish more people would go to these smaller theaters because it creates a really wonderful, different experience. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Seth Benoit, and that's What's That?